Do you ever look at your photos and feel discouraged, or that you've lost your mojo? Or worse, that you've been doing this for years, so why are you still unhappy with your photos? Here's the thing. I don't think it's actually about your photography at all. Over the past 15 years, I've worked with thousands of photographers in my online courses and spoken one-on-one with hundreds more. And I've noticed something fascinating. So if you're feeling discouraged or at a standstill with your photography right now, then understanding this one thing will completely turn things around. So in this video, I'm going to show you why feeling not good enough is actually a sign you're on the right track, the real reason that photographers lose their mojo, and how to reframe every photographic failure so that it actually moves you forward instead of holding you back. First, let me tell you what initially surprised me when I started working closely with my students. You see, when photographers come to me for help, I naturally ask them about their goals and why they do photography. And what I discovered after a while is that for most photographers, especially those around retirement age, which just happens to be the group that I help the most, there aren't actually that many external drivers. Very few are trying to earn anything from their photography. Even fewer are chasing any kind of online following. And what I discovered is that most photographers' why, who I usually help, it's usually one of these three things. It's either personal enjoyment to keep them active and give them something meaningful to work on in retirement, or just simply for the love of the process, to create photos they're proud to share with their kids and grandkids, and create photos that they can print, frame and pass down as gifts. Or simply they do it for the pure satisfaction of striving towards becoming a better photographer. But here's what I noticed. No matter what someone's why is, when we speak, their eyes always light up the most, and I can feel their energy levels rising when we start talking about what's next. And that's when it hit me. The photographers who felt stuck or discouraged weren't stuck because they weren't good enough, which is what they thought. They were stuck because they just stopped moving forward. Now, the clue is right there in the phrase that I hear all the time.
I've lost my mojo.
Which really just means I'm at a standstill. And that literally just means you're not moving. And I think the main reason for that is that you just haven't defined what that next something is that you want to move towards. So in a minute, I'll share a simple process to figure out the next step that you can take. But first, here's where things get really interesting. Because, it's natural to think that the solution to being unhappy with your photos is to just get good enough to produce better images that you can finally be happy with. But there's a bit of a paradox there, because the minute you think you've arrived, you stop striving for the next thing. Now, by all means, absolutely celebrate every win, every photo you take where you just feel so proud to have been the one to create it. What I'm suggesting here is to not let that stop you continuing to strive for your next goal, because that's when the unhappiness can creep in. Something I've realized about myself is that I'm most fulfilled when I'm working towards something. 15 years ago, for example, when I made the decision to use photography as a way to earn a living, it only happened because I sat down and made that decision and committed to it. Turns out I tend to be pretty good at translating complex technical stuff into more easy to understand guidance, and I like photography, so I decided I was going to teach Photoshop. And believe me, there have been many failures along the way. Each one could have been big enough to, give myself permission to quit, but I somehow have been objective enough about my failures to be able to find the lesson in each one. And now looking back, I'm pretty confident to repeat a line that I once heard, that the only thing that will stop you is stopping. So if you're feeling bad or down or uninspired about your photography right now, it's probably only for one of two reasons. You're either not working towards something, or you are, but when things don't go to plan, you look at your failures the wrong way. And that brings me on to the most important part. If you feel bad about some kind of photographic failure, then having the right framework to put that failure into perspective is going to help. When something goes wrong with a photo or a whole shoot or even an entire photography trip or holiday, whatever it is, when you come home disappointed or when you look at an edit and you hate it, ask yourself these three questions. What exactly are you unhappy with, and what do you feel went wrong? Did it actually go wrong, or is that just your perception? And what is the learning opportunity here? Because sometimes the failure is real. Your shots can be blurry, or you can overcook an edit, or you maybe lacked the technical skill to do what you were trying to do, or you choose the wrong composition. The list is endless, but sometimes the failure is just your perception amplified by comparing yourself to others. So first, stop doing that. Stop comparing yourself to anyone. By all means, look to people for inspiration, but just stop the comparison. But when it comes to those objective failures that you can just definitely point out to say, yes, okay, this did go wrong, just reposition each one into a new goal that you can achieve, then work backwards to figure out how to achieve it. For example, I hate that my landscapes always look flat could become the goal of being able to say, I'm a photographer who creates images with depth and dimension. And then once you define that goal, you can reverse engineer the steps to achieve it. Maybe that could be to master compositional depth or atmospheric depth, selective editing, and so on. Then each one of those things can be broken down further into even smaller steps until you find that one step that you can take right now to move forward. This way, every failure is just a signpost pointing you towards your next area of growth. Now, as you've been watching this video, one or two things might have already started to pop into your mind about what you can do next. If that happens to be creating better compositions, then watch this video next. Or to learn the editing technique that literally changed my life, watch this video.